Just over Vinewood Hills lies the Grand Sonora Desert. Housed inside of that desert also lies Sandy Shores, a small, rundown town. But unlike most rundown towns, this one still has residents and power, but currently is in a poor state of condition as is. A quick drive through Sandy Shores lets you get a better look at the residents and their homes. This already gives us some clues about a time when Sandy Shores was sprawling with life and success. Most of these homes are colorful, yellow, blue, red, pink, you name it, which was a common element of the American home design in the 1950s and 1960s. Full of color, usually one story, with no garage, as vehicles weren't nearly as common to see as they are now. Almost a one-to-one identical description of the typical Sandy Shores home. The buildings also tell us about the businesses that were here prior. We can see a mechanic shop, a barber shop, a tattoo shop, a medical center, and a sheriff's office. Some of these businesses are still operating, but judging by the exterior, these businesses are by no means prospering. And while there are some buildings that are still standing, most of the buildings in Sandy Shores are completely run down and abandoned, like the Sandy Shores Motel. This is likely due to the failing economy at the time. But why was the economy on the decline, you may ask? It could be the fact that a booming city just on the other side of the Vinewood Hills with promising job opportunities and infrastructure was on the rise, driving the workforce to move there to be closer to their jobs and family, as they likely moved there as well. Paleto Bay could have been in a similar situation in Sandy Shores as well, but powered through because of its major factory, the Cluck and Bell factory, which required a larger workforce to operate, which likely gave them stable job security. Unfortunately, for Sandy Shores' case, they didn't have any stable job opportunities unlike Paleto Bay. Most businesses in Sandy Shores were prone to tourism, which is almost always a bad thing, as the strength of the economy shifts from month to month. Nobody is visiting Sandy Shores in the winter. The lack of job stability could have also influenced the rise of drugs and arms smuggling that Sandy Shores is all too familiar with now. Not too many cops to deal with, and the ones there are to deal with are likely to cut a deal with smugglers to boost their own pay, to just put food on the table for their own families. Not to mention the outright lack of outside agencies present in Blaine County, as officials likely think that it is just an abandoned town that is too far gone to help anymore. So with all this in mind, why is Sandy Shores still a town? And why don't officials try to help Sandy Shores more? Well, the answer to that is very simple. They use the fact that it is run down with a very little population to their advantage. There is a prison just outside Sandy that is very hard to escape out of because of its location. If you try to make the daring escape to Los Santos, you will likely get seen by the many residents and be called in to your arrest. If you try to make the flee towards the desert in Sandy Shores, you will suffer from the blistering heat in the daytime and the shivering cold of the night. Not even mentioning the scarce amenities there are in Blaine County. It's not like there are many places to eat and drink in Sandy Shores, leaving the only viable option to escape to Paleto. However, it is just too far and risky to attempt. Despite most of Blaine County being abandoned or close to it, there are some parts that appear to be doing just fine, like Harmony. There is a small strip mall with a couple of businesses that also houses a Fleeca Bank branch, the only bank in all of Sandy Shores, which could be the reason why it is still standing. There is zero competition. Harmony also has a small motel, which, while not looking perfect, seems to be doing just fine. It looks like if there's any bit of tourist activity or somebody just needing a place to stay for a little bit, Harmony could be the place to go instead of Sandy Shores. Now we must discuss the gangs of Sandy Shores. Well, first off, there is the one we are all too familiar with, Trevor Phillips Enterprises, and the O'Neill brothers, which live not too far out of town in a town called Grapeseed. And then there's the Lost Motorcycle Club, which has a headquarters just outside of Sandy Shores in a small trailer park called Stab City. However, like previously mentioned earlier, there is a sheriff's office located in the middle of Sandy Shores. Unfortunately, like also mentioned earlier, the sheriff's office is fairly small, and the workforce of that sheriff's office is also very small, making them very prone to being paid off or just outright being killed. It seems like from the looks of it, there's not enough enforcement going on in Sandy Shores, but no one bothers to enforce it because it's already too far gone or they're benefiting from it. And not just crackhead hillbillies are benefiting from it. Think about it. There is a military base not too far away, a prison like previously mentioned, and the Humane Labs, which seems to conduct experiments not really shown to the FIB or the IAA. It seems like the officials are even taking advantage of Sandy Shores' desolate state. All of this makes Sandy Shores feel like such a creepy place to me. It's always been strange how there's almost no lighting, and the lighting that there is dim. Not to mention the tallest mountain in the game, Mount Chiliad, reigning supreme over the town of Sandy Shores and its residents. So with all this in mind, we can now answer the question, was Sandy Shores always abandoned? No, it wasn't. It was likely a decently popular town in the 1950s or 60s, but due to better job opportunities located elsewhere, was left in a poor state that nobody cared to fix, as both state officials and criminals benefited from its demise, using it for both of their operations. And that is unlikely to change anytime soon.